Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to Behind the Podcast, episode 2. Once again, my name is Mikal Jenkins, and we have our co-host here.
Good morning, everyone. It is actually a morning now, 9:45 a.m., 9:43 actual, Mikal. And it is Muhamed Alic here, and we've got a lot to talk about today regarding the BBB, not the Big Baller Brand, but the Big Beautiful Bill, and I'm excited to talk about it. What about you, Mikal? What are you thinking about, before we get into the topic of the day? Happy 4th of July, everybody.
Yes,
I of course,
Birthday.
very important day in American history. Very important day for us all to, despite the current political environment, it is still important to love your country because your neighbors are what make this country, not the government.
Yes, we're all Americans, and we all contribute our own skills to this great economy and to this great nation. So let's uplift the spirit that our founding fathers have enshrined in us. And, let's just keep pushing forward to a better union every single day.
The country
And
built by the people.
yes, by the people. And we start by making a better union by trying to provide great political insight on different perspectives that, you won't be able to hear or read on other platforms or channels. So thank you again for joining us. And we're going to dive right into this big, beautiful bill.
Oh yeah, the biggest, the most beautiful.
Yes, I think this is one of the biggest packages passed in Congress in American history.
Definitely, I think it is the most expensive.
Definitely, this is very much mirroring another bill that might have had the same three numbering, three lettering, BBB. And everyone can remember that Build Back Better.
I feel like they definitely, absolutely did that on purpose.
It's the same playbook.
Who's writing the script?
Yeah, it's crazy how it happens. But so the Senate passed the vote, 51-50. Senator Mike Johnson was that groundbreaking tying vote, and everyone can remember with Build Back Better, Kamala Harris was the tie-breaking vote. The House passed the vote very, narrowly, 218 to 214. GOP defectors were Massey and Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania.
I love Massey.
Massey, yeah, he's a very good guy. Brian Fitzpatrick, he's good. So actually, one of my coworkers that I work with, they live in PA and actually are in his district.
What's his district? Like, what's the townships, the county?
I think my coworker, he lives in, if I'm not mistaken, it's right on the outskirts, but give me 1 second.
I was going to say the outskirts of PA can be like what? I was about to say Bethesda. I'm so used to Maryland, Bethlehem, Erie. Pittsburgh's technically the corner, so is Philly. Allentown's on the eastern edge.
Yeah, I think he's so he's District 1.
District 1, that's northeast.
But that's like Bucks County.
That's south. Man, goes to show how much I know. I'm used to wrestling districts.
In southeast Pennsylvania.
I really thought
standing up for his constituents and his state, definitely.
I really thought, I was like thinking in my head, because the northeast is District 1 in PA wrestling, where like the area where Bethlehem is. I was just thinking that must make sense that they'd be the same as the political districts. Guess not. Today
Yeah. No, definitely. And then just wanted to, cover some of these major provisions that are in this bill. I'm pretty sure if you're, listening to the news, you've definitely heard the outcries of these provisions, or you have heard the support of these provisions, depending upon where you get your news from. But we're just going to lay out some interesting perspectives and have a look at these provisions that are in this bill. So starting with the tax cuts, we'll just go down by line and then we'll tackle each one as we go. So looking at tax cuts, the 2017 tax cuts are now permanent.
goodness.
Yeah, that's going to be good because that was actually going to expire, I think,
at the end of this year.
Yeah, this year, yeah. So
I want to talk about that too.
We'd have gotten up. So the wording on how the Republicans can phrase that, it's pretty interesting. Then we have the SALT cap at $40K, and then, tip and overtime exemptions on taxes as well. Then jumping into Medicaid, $1 trillion in cuts. And that's going to be restructured now into block grants and work requirements for states. Projected 11 to 12 million people to lose coverage. And it will also dive into what states that could hurt the most and the potential political outlook as well with this bill, which will mirror something similar to Build Back Better. And then looking at SNAP, we have expanded work requirements, carve outs for seniors, vets, and caregivers. And the energy sector, we're seeing rollback of green credits, an emphasis on coal and ethanol subsidies, and ambiguous carbon levies. Looking at the more medical and hospital side of things, and this kind of ties into a little bit with that New Jersey state budget that we'll touch on as well. Rural Hospital Fund, there's now $50 billion in that fund led by Senator Susan Collins. And one thing that I actually like the most out of this bill that not many people, I don't think, really realize is that the AI oversight memorandum is removed from the bill. That was that 10-year state memorandum where states could not do anything to AI, no oversight, no protections, regulations, which in my mind was, a little outlandish, just given,
The current environment.
angst that, AI has grown. I mean, one quick story, and then we'll dive in. Actually, I was sitting on the couch with my girlfriend, and I was saying how I was reading this tweet about how this AI actually went defective after the company was going to turn it off. So it's funny enough, it's kind of funny what it did, but not funny at the same time. It started blackmailing the engineer, right? It was basically saying that it was going to reveal an extramarital affair.
Was he actually cheating on his wife?
The AI was saying this. So that means the AI was pulling this information from somewhere and had access to this information.
Wait. Was he actually cheating on his wife? And like it was like a secret.
I didn't dive in too deep because I was like, that's just a very
That would add like an extra layer of fear to this.
Think about it, yes.
So there's like one thing is like AI like in a panic, not wanting to be shut off, puts on like fake threats like, hey, I'll tell people that you cheated on your wife. I'll tell people you murdered somebody. It's a whole nother thing for AI to go the distance, get the evidence that you did do it on the internet on its own behalf, and then use that to be like, hey, do what I say, or I'm going to release this actual information.
Yes, it's pretty it's pretty scary. But let's touch on these permanent tax cuts. Muhammad, what are your thoughts? What are your takes?
Yeah, so back in the TCJA days was actually when I was doing taxes, and there was a lot of benefit from it. A lot of people did benefit from the TCJA, and it was excuse me, alhamdulillah. And it was a good bill. They, a lot of people just, as it goes, the Democrats, the left media comes out and against whatever the Republicans do and vice versa whenever the other party's in control. And I think this bill is an example of, don't get me wrong, the Medicaid cuts are going to be a problem, and a lot of people are going to feel them. I do definitely think it's going to shape a lot of political influence into the 2026 elections, and we're going to talk about that later. But in terms of overall grand scoping bill, it's not as life ending as some people which have tried painting it. Some of the medias have tried painting it. And I think a big reason why is because of these tax cuts, the permanent additions to them. Now, as Mikal mentioned earlier in the podcast, the tax cuts for the standard deduction were increased permanently. So before the TCJA, it was about $7,000, $6,000 for the standard deduction. And for those who aren't in the know with taxes, the standard deduction is what you can easily apply to your taxes to lower the amount of tax you pay until before you get into the credits and such. It adjusts your gross income. It makes your adjustable gross income along other deductions if you itemize your with such. But on to the point being is that Trump with the TCJA increased that to about $13,000, I believe, basically doubling it. And then since then, it's gone up to about this year, according to the IRS, they'll be given a $15,000 standard deduction. Now, if that was repealed, the TCJA, that boost was repealed, it would have been about an $8,000 change, which would have been quite the change in taxes. And, we mentioned this earlier in the podcast, Mikal, about how the TCJA was set to expire in 2025. Now, honestly, originally, when I thought about this, I thought that Trump was going to be a two-term president, and then the next president would be a Democrat who would then have to deal with the issue of tax cuts expiring and then Americans paying more taxes while under a Democratic president. I did not expect it to work out this way, where he becomes the second ever president to do a leap phase. Essentially, who was it? Polk, the first one who did it.
Yeah,
yeah, and I did not expect him to actually do that leapfrog and then come in and have that power over the Republicans instead of over the Democrats. Because we were talking a little bit about this before we really jumped in, and that was how by having these tax cuts expire in 2025, he actually had control over these Republicans by saying, "Hey, your constituents' taxes are going to go up. They're going to
Yeah.
blame you when they go up. If you don't do this, you're going to have issues." And it's interesting to think about. And before we dive deeper into the specifics of the tax situation and what's included on it, I want to ask you your opinion on: do you think that this was a big part of the Republicans voting for it on because they know of that political situation, or do you think it was more so them wanting to? Let me rephrase the question better. Do you think it was more of them wanting to follow just the president of the United States, given his influence in the situation he put them in? Or do you think it was more so them wanting to get this bill passed along because even if it wasn't Trump putting on this pressure on them, they would still feel the pressure from the tax change on their
Yeah, and
constituents?
I I think that so I think the pressure on the tax is definitely there. As we were saying earlier this morning before we got on, the dates were artificial. You know, these were not fiscal dates that needed to be met by funds needed to get to certain places or in the tax cuts or by the end of the year. So there was time to formulate a more structured process you know, to have this bill done realistically and to have the measures and provisions in the bill fleshed out more deeply with both caucuses. I do think that this is more of a I need to vote on this for Trump because you know the GOP party is the MAGA party now.
Yeah.
So even with
Pretty
Thomas
close
Massie,
consistency, really.
a reputable Republican, his votes his district versus for his constituents, someone you want to have as your representative at that national level, and then Trump coming out just wanting to eviscerate him from the political sphere, just having you know differences on this bill is just nonsensical. I think that if these senators are speaking out and these House members are speaking out on this bill, and that it's bad, and then it's a bad bill. Shouldn't be forced to vote on something just because the head of your party is um is almost forcing you to basically and holding your hand behind your back. And then that also bears the question, if you're not with the MAGA Republicans, are you even safe now?
That's a good
Are
question.
you even safe? I mean, look at I hold Lisa Murkowski to high regards. I mean, I do understand she voted on the bill. She did not like the bill, but she fought for what she can get for her state, which, at
Correct.
the end of the day, like when you have a situation like that where you're basically getting the on like I'll say on the Democratic side, a President Johnson, when he would get all up in your face and tower over you to make you do something. It's kind of like that, basically, using the pulpit of the presidency. It's not how this policy should have gotten passed. I think there could have been way more convenings, conference committees to where they could actually pull together sensible and necessary cuts. Because just looking at the we'll stick with the taxes right now because we're on that.
Yeah. So speaking of
They're
cuts,
saying no tax on tips and so forth. I'm just gonna say this little excerpt real quick, and it's so it would add new tax deductions on a tip and overtime and auto loans apparently as well.
on
There's
interest on auto loans, interest on auto
yeah.
loans, yeah.
Mhm.
I can go into the details on it. That I did some reading. I can just speak on it. They
Yeah. Also, so there's a 6,000 deduction for older adults who earn no more than 75K a year. This is for that Social Security tax. So it's
yeah,
not a complete,
cut on Social Security tax.
it's on Social Security. That's what it is steps above. Don't get me wrong.
That's ridiculous still to
I'm
me.
not knocking whatever, not knocking the president's advances towards this, but it's the messaging that's important. what we need our listeners to understand. It's you got to fight through those words and actually dive into what's actually there.
Listen,
There.
as someone who's done taxes, as someone who's looked at how much the government pulls in taxes from various amounts of, the wealth groups, the 1%, 5%, 10%, and then the middle class, lower class, it is ridiculous to me how they can tax your money, promise it for Social Security, and then tax the Social Security. It's ridiculous. It's unfair. You know what I mean? I understand why seniors get so mad about it, and it bothers me how there's no actual group of politicians who actually want to cut that tax. There are two taxes that need to be cut out of American politics, and that is the income tax should not exist on most people, in my opinion. They and the Social Security tax, also basically an income tax. It's taxing income,
Yeah.
but it's specific to Social Security. But for example, let me before I want to pull this up, but before I go more into on this tangent, go ahead and finish off the specific the different kinds of tax benefits, and then I can get into the details behind that.
Yeah. So that's just on there. So it would also boost the 2000 child tax credit to 2200. And then what else we have here? So there's a cap on the state. The SALT cap would be for only 5 years for 40,000. House Democrats wanted it for 10 years. That's definitely a good benefit for Democratic cities. I do know actually this is something that Mikey Sherrill was actually fighting for individuals that are listening from New Jersey. Jersey's governor races in November. Mikey Sherrill was an individual that was fighting for these provisions, something that I have seen her talk about. So just keep that a note in your head when you go to the ballot box this November. There are also scores of business-related tax cuts, including allowing businesses to immediately write off 100% of the cost of equipment and research. This is to hopefully boost economic growth. The wealthiest households will see a $12,000 increase from the legislation. The bill could cost the poorest people $1,600 a year, mainly due to reductions in Medicaid and food aid. And we are not even talking about yet the potential rises in energy costs,
Oh yeah.
because that is going to hit New Jersey like a freight train. We're already looking to have legislative law. I think we already
So what's going into the increasing energy costs in Jersey? And is this like it's affecting the federal government, the world, federal country as a whole, or just localized to Jersey?
So it's just it's localized. So yeah, when we get to that,
We'll get more into that later. Then
I'll touch on that segment. Yeah, while I was there when this is just real quick, and we'll get back to the big beautiful bill. I was there for the passage of the bill for the state budget bill. So there was a lot of banter back and forth. Just want to add another note as well for anyone that's listening that is a New Jersey gambler or a gambler, please look at that New Jersey law, please, because you will be affected, as well as with the federal law, you will be affected. So just want to make that note. And as we continue on with our talk on this bill.
All right, cool. So on to you want me to start covering like the details about the taxes?
Last thing I'll just cover is just on the immigration. So the bill provide $350 billion for Trump's border wall, also allowing for 100,000 migrant detention facility beds, which he aims to fill. Money would go for hiring 10,000 new immigration and customs enforcement officers, and
a lot of money for ICE. A lot of money for ICE.
And now they will get a $10,000 signing bonus and a surge, and hopefully this will surge border officer recruitment as well.
I might sign up and quit the first day.
Posts before $1 million a year. So, and also that's also with ICE now being the biggest law enforcement agency, biggest funded law enforcement agency in America, overshadowing even the Marines in the amount of funding that they get. So Marines, you now receive less.
The Marines are famous though for being broke. I'm pretty sure it's on purpose. No, yeah, they feed those guys like tree sticks and rubber, and then they somehow come out weighing 230 pounds of muscle out of the freaking SEAL boot camp. It's ridiculous. I had So I had a teacher that was a Navy Marine, not and but he wasn't a SEAL, and he told me he was like, yeah, I was working out, and not a Marine, he was in the Navy. He was talking about the Navy SEALs, and he was like, yeah, I was just working out in the Navy gym, and then I saw this one SEAL doing dips. He was like, and then 20 minutes later, I see this guy, and he's still doing dips. And he's like, 15 minutes later, I continue with my workout, and this guy's still doing
Doing
dips.
tips. Yeah.
Yeah, I was just like, that's so funny to me. Like these guys they're tough. They're tough in those programs.
Yeah.
Marine of the SEALs, those are some tough ass
Yeah.
men. And women are the ones that do get involved.
All your guys' service, and we hope you guys are enjoying this day very especially more than most because we
Oh yeah, the fourth, all due to our brave fighters, George Washington crossing the Delaware on Christmas Day. What an American way to do things. Frozen river and all.
I actually went over there. With my girlfriend and her family to actually see the Delaware crossing and all that. It's not as big as you think, but
How wide is it? Would you say like 100?
it's not that. It's not that wide. It's not that.
I thought it was.
It's not what it's not what's depicted in the picture in the state of East. Going to
The picture is dramatized. I thought it was like a 50-foot wide river, not like a.
No, it's not crazy wide, but it's not crazy wide.
Yeah.
But let's have you give some analysis on some of these
Yeah, so
taxes.
I'll be talking about the BBB, the details now, and also, guys, I'll be going into my general opinion on what is wrong with the how politicians, Republicans, and Democrats both approach taxes. So, with the no tax on tips, that is up to $25,000 a year, and for many people, taxes are the earned tips. Tips are generally for waitresses, for example, and waiters. Tips are the primary way they get money. So, for example, I know a lot of waitresses that are allowed to get paid below minimum wage because they primarily get paid tips. Mm-hmm. So, say like you get $3 an hour because you're getting paid below the minimum wage because you get tip based, and that $25,000 no income tax is nice, and it doesn't fill the actual no tax on tips. You know what I mean? I'd understand more if they said no tax on tips up until you make $100,000. But no tax on tips up until $25,000 in tips is just, like you said earlier and how you mentioned earlier, it's not really fulfilling the exact promise that was said. Like no tax on Social Security. No, you just get a deduction, an extra deduction.
Just a deduction. And for
Yeah,
that
just
tax,
get a
no tax on
deduction.
tips, don't be once I'm in the store, don't flip that little screen around because I'm hitting no.
Yeah.
So it's on tips, don't do it.
Yeah. And
that's the joke.
And so
we're joking. I'm never joking.
And it's important to say that, this is going to be all about tips that are reported by your employer or reported by you to the government. So if you earn cash tips, be aware of the implications of that. And with that said, there's also the overtime change, which is up to $15,000, up to $12,500 in 1 year of overtime is tax free. And that is once you start getting past $150,000, though, that kind of phases out. For every $1,000 past $150,000, $100 of that is phased out. So it gets to the point where around you start getting the $200,000, that overtime isn't applicable at all. And then on top of that, the permanent changes that were put into place with this BBB, the Big Beautiful Bill, from the TCJ are, in my opinion, the most important part of the bill. Now, it's, I think, vital to say that a lot of these changes, when it comes to the tax code, a lot of changes that are made to it are purposely made to be complicated and not actually solve problems. Now, this is for twofold. One, it keeps these politicians arguing about something. Now, it's like the whole thing, like Democrats could have codified abortion in Obama's days, made it a non-issue for the rest of political modern history, honestly. But they didn't, because it's a thing for them to anchor on. Republicans could cut income tax for the first $50,000, making so many more people rich, making so many more people vote Republican. But they don't, because then that's not a thing they can argue anymore. Because then they're like, all right, then who's going to add it again? Well, we're going to need that money, then we're going to tax them elsewhere. The thing is, they don't actually enjoy cutting taxes for the lower classes. And to give you guys an example of how ridiculous this is. So the income tax makes up 49% of the federal government's money. Of the 49%, 10% of that 49% is all the money earned below $100,000. So 4.9% of the government's money is the income tax on everything below 100,000. We could cut income tax to 0% on $100,000 and below in earnings, and that would only lose 5% of the government's money. Only 5%. And they could easily reallocate money otherwise. Easily. But they don't. Imagine that. Imagine how much more prosperous this country would be if there was 0% federal income tax on the first $100,000 in earnings. But that's
Yeah, that would be very
massive. And it bothers me so much because think about it. The companies will start making more money. Everybody's making more money. They're going to spend more. They're going to buy more houses. They're going to be spending more on gas. They're going to be
I
traveling.
think it's really, where do you, same thing like how this bill is, they were saying, dodge, waste, fraud, and abuse for Medicaid. But I mean, I haven't seen anything. And if anyone has seen anything that states that, these cuts to Medicaid are focused solely on the fraud, waste, abuse, and, immigrants on roll, illegal immigrants on roll, et cetera, then I would definitely love to digest that information. But it's just, making sure that, if we're gonna, not tax in certain areas, let's just make sure that we're able to have the funds in another area to back it up and not take it from a program that's already doing something, beneficial in a sense. Like I understand there, like the premises that Democrats and, leftists are like, really portraying this bill is like, it's taking from the poor to give to the wealthy and so forth. So like that can be construed. So it's just really pulling from finding the programs to pull it from basically that can work on a political landscape, honestly, because this is gonna I'll let you continue, but this we'll touch on it later on, but this Medicaid cut's definitely gonna hurt some of these
Definitely gonna hurt, especially those poor
BOP districts when it comes down the line. Like these are, and as we're saying earlier, it's 2027. But I'll stop there and I'll let you continue.
Yeah, we'll get more into the trick behind the Medicare cuts and then, but to finish off what I was saying in terms of the tax changes by this bill and just in general the song and dance that politicians do when it comes to taxes, is that the Republicans will always argue about lower income taxes, but they never actually cut taxes for lower class. They'll add deductions. I'm not kidding when I say this. The last income tax cut that was given was 3% in the TCJA, a 3% income tax cut for the middle class. And then the corporate tax cut, on the other hand, was down 16%, I believe, from 37 to 21. So that just get 5.233x more of a cut for the rich, for the corporations, than for the middle class. They can afford the cut. They absolutely can afford the cut.
Yep.
They just don't care. They don't care. And this is what bothers me so much about when I see Democrats, a lot of, left-leaning people talk about wanting to increase taxes so we could get better social benefits. If you just cut taxes on everyone under 50,000 even, that would be 1.5, 1.6% of the federal government's money.
Yeah.
And that would be life-changing. That'd be hundreds of dollars more a month. Imagine that. Imagine you're a single mother paying rent. You know what I mean? Rent's $1,000 a month. And then all of a sudden you start getting $600, $700 more a month. Huge. Huge. Imagine you're just a normal American. You know what I mean? A dude just a person just out of college, just got your first job, trying to get some housing going on, but you can't afford it. And then you start getting up to $1,000 extra a month because you're not paying federal tax. Huge. Now you're stimulating the housing market. Now you're stimulating the food. Now you're stimulating every kind of market possible. And it just, it really is an issue. This is one big reason why I would, the chief reason why I even have a pie to fight in this in politics is because of how horrible the tax policy is. And
yeah, I would agree. I also could see, I think if you were to do like on the graduated scale of phase-in of the no income tax, I think you could start it with, as an experiment, start with sales tax. And see, just do a Delaware experience. Why not? Just do a Delaware experience, do a pilot 2-3 years, get the best economists and the think tank in the room, have them understand these are guidelines, these are procedures for how this bill is going to work, how these taxes are going to flow. Let's, project now, and then 3 years down the line, let's see how well the economy is actually doing. That way we're like, okay, maybe we can actually do this. Maybe we can find other ways to supplement that windfall and revenue when we change to no income tax in the state. So yeah, I definitely agree there could be a lot of changes in that area. I definitely would love to see no income tax down the road. That would be amazing.
Oh, you could implement it for World War One, and it was meant to be. This is the thing. I another thing that even though I'm a registered Democrat, I have more.
Libertarian coming out.
I'd say I have more complaints with the left than I do with the right because I feel like the right is my complaints with them. I have more complaints about people who share similar end goals as I do. And my end goal is two things: cut tax, get people more money, through cut taxes. And the left leaning folk, the idea is have people, the lower income people be better off. Right, people on the right cut taxes so everyone's better off. They and
What I would comment on that is I think a good way to separate that is I think GOP conservatives are more money in your pocket, right? Democrats are more so better services. We want you to have better services. We want you to have better roads, better healthcare, better education. Not saying GOP does not, but they're more so focused on we want money in your pockets to be able to make you buy things better, make you do more. You have more accessible income to do a lot of these things. Dems are like, we just want you to have great services.
No, man,
Might not be in your pocket, but you got great roads, you got great education, housing, grocery stores. Like the New York candidate is now saying all that stuff. So I think that could be a fair split between the two if you would accept that.
What side do you find yourself on?
I'm literally right. I don't find myself on either side. Like I was saying in the first episode, Blue Dog Democrat down and through. Like, I have, family on my dad's side that are very much conservative. My Uncle Kevin in my ears always. And then on my mom's side, they're not really into the whole politicalness, but she has her opinions. And I grew up with her mostly, so that's definitely where my Democratic leanings come from. But when it comes to social issues, I walk Democrat, a moderate, Democratic ideological path. And then when it comes to the more fiscal side of things, I like to be, fiscal responsibility. What makes sense? What is pragmatic? That's the best thing. And that's what I think. Look, now I'm going to start getting to a rant.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that's lost in American politics. It's ferocious, pragmatic legislation is the best way to think about it. And funny enough, where I got this line of thinking and way of thinking is the Netflix TV show House of Cards. But we're not going to dive.
Spacey, Baltimore legend Kevin Spacey.
Dive into that, but yes, House of Cards is ferocious pragmatism is what you need to get very good, substantive, beneficial legislation to help the most amount of people across the largest board. That's what I think is missing in American politics. We always want to help with pockets. We don't want to help the grander issue, and we want to just go back to the pharmacy and get Band-Aids, and we don't want to go to the doctor and fix the issue. But
I can also go on that similar logic. I could go off on a tangent on the health outlook of this country. We could do a whole episode. We'll do a whole separate episode for healthcare and the health outlook. I got
individuals that are listening. We may be able to have our first guest possibly within maybe the next 2 episodes.
I got questions.
Yeah, I've been in contact with my uncle. He knows former Assemblyman Jamel Holly. He is now currently the senior advisor for RFK. So hopefully we can have either of them on. That would be great. My uncle has done the podcast with RFK recently. We'll try to put that out so that people can possibly hear. But yeah, hopefully that will be our next very good segment, diving into all these health initiatives because I love them. I think it's great. I want America to be healthier. There's no reason why our rates should be where they're at. I mean, well, we know the reason why these food industries are pumping everything,
pushing poison because it's cheap
into these foods.
Yeah.
But let's deviate back to this bill.
BBB.
You
So
done? Were you still on the
yeah,
taxes?
wrapping up the tax implications.
So we'll
So
move on to we'll hit on some energy things there
yeah, so
when you're
wrapping up the tax implications, this will be a generally more impactful. The lower class will be benefiting a bit from this is the thing. These tax cuts were already in effect. So there's going to be continuing most of them for the lower class. That means the standard deduction being increased, the increased what's the word I'm looking for? The few percent lower income tax rates for the two middle class tax brackets and the 2% for the third highest one and things of that nature. They were already in effect, and now they're just being made permanent. So this is very good, but at the same time, this is something that Americans have already been feeling since the TCJA was implemented back in 2016. So when you're thinking about how things are, one, going to be on Americans' minds, two, affecting political landscape in 2026, which we talked about at the end of this, near the end of the podcast, is that they are not going to be actually noticing this change because there is no change really. It's just being made permanent. So it's like if, for example, if let's just say you're a kid who's being an allowance since you're 5 years old, and then you become 12, and your parents are like, I'm not sure if I'm going to give you an allowance anymore. And then a week later, you're like, okay, never mind, I'll keep giving you an allowance. You're like, okay, cool. I'd be more mad if you didn't keep giving me my allowance. And not the best example, but just an idea is that once Americans get used to something, they expect that. And if Americans were to actually get their taxes pulled back because of this, it would be much more negative impacting. And because they keep getting the tax benefit, despite it because it's already been lasting, they won't actually feel that effect because it's going to be like just like last year, just like the year
yeah.
before. So for these few tax cuts that do actually affect the middle class and lower class, which is going to be the tips over time, it's going to be offset by the changes to SNAP and Medicare. And really, this is goes back to what you said earlier in the episode, is that according to who made the projection that the upper classes will be getting about $12,000 extra a year, while the lower classes will be paying.
I got that from Associated Press, but they got it from MB.
Yeah, so AP was showing that they and just based off of what I'm seeing as well, yeah, the greater thing is while you won't be paying more in taxes, the impact of the Medicare is going to be impacting many lower income Americans, which is going to be what makes them pay more money.
You'll have more in your pocket, but you'll be paying more for services, basically.
And that's the thing that bothers me. You could cut income tax, or everybody
cutting their money, and now you have to. Yeah, now you have to pay more. So basically, that money you're getting. So basically, you got two hands. You're getting your money.
Deal with the devil.
Going right back over. It's going.
You want no tax on tips? You lose your health insurance.
Yep, you lose your health insurance.
Like the monkey paw rules.
You got to find a way to pay it, and they're
ridiculous.
Pay it.
They can give permanent tax cuts that create a deficit to the rich, but whenever they cut taxes for the lower class, they've got to offset it with something. This is the thing. A lot of people, I think this government more than anything is like a oligarchy. Like, I'm gonna throw out three words here that don't generally work out together. An capitalistic socialist oligopoly. Socialism for the rich, not for anyone else. Think about the Great Recession. Think about how many times rich people have been thrown out in a bad spot in recovery because they're rich. You know what I mean? There's just so many cases of the rich and powerful being able to get away. Hell, even, I hate to say it like this, the most recent case, you got a few celebrities in the news who are filthy rich getting away with things. And then on top of that, you just get more and deeper into it. Like politics, for example. There's endless people who have done illegal deeds, don't get in trouble. And we'll get into that into another episode, but I want to let's get really on to the topic at hand, Michael, let's wrap up the talk about the BBB and about how this will impact the 2026 midterms.
Mikal,
I'm so sorry, dude. I'm so used to Michael. Michael.
It's good. If it's easier, you can use MJ. It's fine. You can. Yeah, it's fine.
I'm trying to be more fit. I'm trying to just say Mikal and get used to that.
No, yeah, it's all right.
You should have corrected me earlier in our lifetime. I feel like I have called you Michael. You never said you never.
I was letting you know about the podcast. I was like, dang, I totally didn't realize. Like, like everyone's called me MJ so much in college. Like they never really, except for like Dylan and like Mike, like I told them like how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Most people don't even know how to pronounce it. So when you were saying Michael, I was like, wait a second, I've never actually told him how to actually pronounce my name fully. Like, but yeah, no, MJ, Mikal,
I'll
one
get
of those,
Miguel down. I'll get Miguel
those
down.
work. Yeah, those work well. But yeah, definitely. I kind of want to touch on the this EV just a little bit, and then what's our time looking like here?
Our time looking like is here. Let me pull up OBS. We've got 40 minutes right now, so we got another 2025 talk about this energy credit and then how
Yeah,
it's
I want to hit the EV, I want to hit the EV stuff, and then let's towards the end we'll just do some I'll cover the Jersey State budget very briefly. Only a few things there, and then we'll wrap it up with just some opinional midterm outlooks and see what could be coming down the pipe any midterms, because I'm ready to get some popcorn and have myself a good old time. I love this time of year, honestly.
July 4th.
Sounds weird, but yeah, this
Excited too.
I'm for someone that's in politics and likes being in the know of everything. But let's dive into these tax credit wipeouts for this EV sector. So new EV credit is eliminated for vehicles purchased after September 30th, 2005. The used EV credit is also repealed after that date. Commercial clean vehicle credit is terminated as well. Charging infrastructure credits ends mid 2026, specifically after June 30th. So that impact is basically 7,500 in incentives for new EVs and 4,000 for used EVs will disappear at the end of the quarter.
Oh man, I got to buy myself a Toyota hybrid before September ends.
I can hear Elon Musk building up his army now, and then we'll touch on that good old Elon Musk later on in the show.
That X bot marketing is gonna go hard.
Yeah, yeah, and then looking at the broader clean energy rollbacks, this will affect more so your if you're living on your own with your parents, this is going to affect the high cost and utilities, and especially in New Jersey for our New Jersey listeners. This is very important because our bills are already looking to be shot up more throughout the summer. So please keep this an eye out and pay attention for look at the budget as well as this bill in detail. So for home energy efficiency credits, that is repealed. Residential solar and similar incentives end after December 31st. Commercial clean electricity credits phased out early. Eligible projects must begin construction by the end of 2025 and be in service end of 2027. Solar and wind are within those projects. Otherwise, the credits will evaporate. There's something in the New Jersey budget. There's a manufacturing bill that was passed that does focus on that solar and wind aspect, even though I know, New Jersey did have a failing wind project during the Murphy administration, which I won't touch on too much. Then, we have advanced manufacturing, clean hydrogen and clean fuel, which will be phased out or limited by 2027, 2029. So the EV credit repeal equates to about 191 billion. That's a B loss over 10 years. Per the
9.1 per year.
Yes, per the nonpartisan committee for a responsible federal budget. Combined repeal of the clean energy credits tally up to 249 billion, with an additional cost totaling over $130 billion. So, this is going to be a huge shakeup. Advocates are warning like hundreds of wind, solar, and EV projects will falter, threatening jobs and rising energy costs. Definitely, and there's going to be more so higher subsidies and a more curtail towards coal and ethanol and all of those types of energies, which I think those are fossils for what our energy grid can be. I think solar and wind is the way to go, but we need to do it.
I disagree with wind.
I think we need to do it in marginal steps. I think it's in certain areas. I think it's a more regionalized. Wind is a more regionalized aspect.
Just
I think it should not be everywhere in a sense. Like in your offshores, I can get that. But I think definitely it's more emerging and can be sustainable
all
compared
right.
to.
Let me state my opinion on this, and then we can have a whole episode actually on the renewable energy and what we should do as a country. That would actually be an interesting episode. They
Yeah,
see if
well, that
we
can be our
bring
first debate topic.
yeah, see if we can like bring on a guest too. They who's like a renewable energy expert. Because the thing is with windmills, they're very inefficient in terms of energy actual production. I have to check out the exact amount of kilowatt per hour they produce, but they cost a ton to make. The concrete, the
Yeah.
transportation, the gas, the oil, the mending, the oil to lubricate it, the maintenance. It costs the energy output of it is basically the equivalent to how much it costs to make, just the general ballpark. And when we have, and solar is much better, but I remember I was actually a huge solar, like why don't we just put it where we can? And of course, for like huge parking lots and things like that, I think it makes sense. And things where there's no, like vegetation or animal life. But I remember once I was thinking, why don't the desert states just employ massive solar fields in order to get that mass energy? I mean, there's nothing out in the desert. And I remember reading an article about it, and environmentalists were protesting I think it was like a 3 mile square radius solar farm and in the desert. And I was like, why are environmentalists protesting a desert farm? There's not much in the desert. And
Yep.
when all of us think about the desert, honestly, the go-to is like the Sahara Desert. You think of like the dunes, the endless sand, nothing being alive. But the desert in the Mojave in the Southwest isn't like that. The desert in the Southwest is teetering with a lot of small green, small bugs, insects, animal snakes. It's teetering with life.
Yeah, it's a very vast life that goes on in those deserts. It's not just grain, salt, and sand. That's
So the environmentalists were saying that like if you guys put up this 3 mile long solar farm, that's going to kill literally every bit of life underneath it, and then every bit of life underneath it that dies is going to affect every bit of life in this rate and within that radius. Because now,
yeah.
what if there was animals relying on vegetation for that? What if there's animals relying on other animals to hunt? And I thought about that, and I was like, I never thought about that kind of environmental effect on solar panels. And a lot of people talk about the benefits of renewable energy, and I think as if there's no environmental impact by them negatively, but there absolutely is. And I think solar still one. Don't get me wrong, I still think solar is, I think, still in my opinion, one of the best renewable energies next to
I think solar and honestly nuclear could be the future.
nuclear is the one that I'm big on. And I think with the current technology, it just only makes sense. But we can, like I said, we can have this whole special episode about.
Yeah, we can. Yeah, we can. Yeah, maybe on one of our next episode, one of our listeners gave me a good idea for doing a debate style episode
Yeah, we
on
can.
just differing topics on opinions that we have. Friendly debate on topics. But
No, honestly, it would be a fun episode if we like debated something for like 30, 45 minutes, and then we like brought on like the expert to like see what she thinks, and then we can get like their opinion on it, like kind of like settle some facts out.
yeah,
Or you could just have a guest on at the beginning, and then like they'll have us they'll like show, tell us how, like the truth about things. The thing is, science is oh so complicated.
so complicated.
They
And
definitely, I would love to be a scientist, but I definitely that could take a lot of time. But back to the point. Back to the point.
Yeah, back to the point. So yeah,
the implications of this. Go ahead, yeah, Mikal.
No, I was gonna say, yeah, the implications of this EV stuff is it's gonna be huge, and I'm very interested to see what the complaints are down the road, as well as when New Jersey has their hearings, for the high energy prices. I definitely will be there, and hopefully we'll try to, when we have a meeting, when we have another podcast for next week, try to update if there is any new information going forward
on the big bill.
Now I want to kind of turn it real quick towards, since we're edging towards the end of the episode, I definitely want to just touch on New Jersey's budget real quick.
Shoot, go ahead.
So New Jersey's state budget New Jersey passed a $58.8 billion budget earlier this week, signed in the very late last night.
Is that over 10 years?
No,
50
that
million in 1 year.
yes, sir.
I didn't know Jersey
The
spent
biggest
that kind of.
New Jersey budget. We spend our money
Oh
here.
my goodness.
I'll tell you that. So just I'm gonna break it down real quickly. So major investments, 4.3 billion property tax relief in programs such as Anchor, Senior Freeze, Stay New Jersey, fully funded pensions, 7.2 billion in the teachers pension, and for K through 12A, $12.1 billion in funding.
Good for that. Be good.
Luckily leaves the next governor actually a 6.7 billion surplus, which
Oh
is
wow,
great.
good for them.
Yeah, very good. New Jersey Family Care, 14.8 billion federal funding with 2.3 billion increase. There were a few controversies, and just to say, since I do in my professional work, I advocate for the county colleges. I am happy to say that we did get our $20 million in funding
I give that
for our
Robbie.
grading aid, so that was a good win for us.
Boom.
A few
Boom. Boom.
a few controversies there with the overall budget. And this kind of ties into that urban hospital package with the federal budget. Actually, $45 million was diverted from opioid settlements, which would go to actually organizations that were doing best practices for opioid work in their regions in New Jersey. Those funds are now going to be diverted to four major hospital systems. The Attorney General was on MSNBC earlier this week talking about how, that change is really going to hurt these groups that are making those impacts in the communities when it comes to opioid help and benefits. Then we'll have 190 million redirected from clean energy fund to the transit and general fund. That's definitely due to these cuts that are coming from the federal government. Nursing homes, sadly, will remain underfunded and amid staffing shortages, and that's going to be fueled by this. No, that's going to be fueled by this diverting of the opioid settlement to these four major hospitals, and then at the last minute there was 720 million added. And what legislators, advocates, lobbyists, constituents sometimes called pork amendments. I usually don't like to call it pork amendments because
it's just
of
fast.
720 of that 720 million, 20 million of that was for the county colleges. So that considered pork. So just kind of what
you gotta take what you can get.
Yeah, gotta take what you can get. So I mean, they call it the pork Christmas tree items, certain things, but so now
We call it the beef.
Fees. Once again, to my online gamblers, professional gamblers, 19.75 tax on online gambling and sports betting.
Why'd they not make it 20? Why'd they not make it 20? This is what I hate about governments. Just make it 20.
Some formula did that probably.
Yeah, somebody was like, please get it under 20%. And the best we can do is 19.75.
It's a higher excise tax on vaping and nicotine, cigarettes up 30 cents a pack. The millionaire mansion transfer fee is now 2 to 3.5%. Was I also heard is that now that tax will not be on the buyer, it will now be on the seller of that estate, basically. So that's going to change the game.
I like that.
And then, that's and then recreational games. So Governor Murphy actually considered a recreational games tax. So let's say you go bowling, laser tag, you go to you sign your kid up for, municipal football, hockey, soccer. He was going to add a tax to that.
This is why
that has remained untaxed. So that is not in the final bill.
This is why people hate liberals.
Yeah.
Okay, we can't play laser tag without getting taxed for it.
Like we worked with
twice.
NJBIA, one of the largest NJBIA, New Jersey Business Industry and Association, one of the largest lobbying firms for businesses in New Jersey, was very against it. In my thought process, I was like, how do you even you're taxing recreational fun? You can't do that in a state that's already heavily taxed. But
once you put in a tax, it doesn't go away. That's the
Yeah,
issue.
but yeah, definitely everyone, please check out the state budget. This analysis will also be in the Jenkins Journal as well. You can always get it there, as well as you can listen to it here. So now let's go into our final segment, the fun segment, the predictive segment. Let's look
Mhm.
at some political changes, some political shakeups. Let's see what's going on in this world of Elon versus
Oh yeah.
GOP versus Dems versus conservatives.
So Elon.
We just got a cafeteria food fight of political madness going on. Let's start this off here.
So Elon said that if the bill passed, he was going to be funding a new party. I mean, candidates to get out every politician who voted for it. And he also did say he was going to back up Massey and his in against Trump pack. I mean, against Massey Trump associated pack. They and I think it's interesting to think about how I wonder if he will actually follow through with that. Do you think he will?
Uh, no, I think,
I don't
I
think he
mean,
will either.
I think it's up to the constituents. The constituents won't, they put Massey in office. They're going to keep Massey in office. And I'm a constituent. I actually love the fact that he stands up for, his rights, his values, even when he is, backed into a corner by these individuals. Like, no, he stands on what he should stand on. These constituents put you in office to make sure that you're vying for their interests and, you earned their vote. So he 100% earned his vote to be there. And I would love for Elon Musk to back him. And I would also love for, Andrew Yang to hop into that little mixture as well, because he's starting the Forward Party, which is kind of like a uncoupling of Democrat and Republican parties. But if Elon starts the American Party, they might as well just all get in one camp and make something happen, because I think this is what is needed. There's rifts in both camps, and the GOP and the Democratic Party, who don't agree with the main casting of what these both parties stand for currently. And I think that's what needs to come together and form a new party along with the independents. There's probably a lot more in common that we all individually have when we come and sit down and have these conversations on substantive policy and what's going on, and how our perspectives are very much different, but our end goals are all the same. We just want to do better, but we want to do better, and better processes, better bills, not passing things in the midnight oil with 500-page bill that you have 24 hours to read. And we want to make sure things are just transparent, pragmatic as always, as I love, and just truthful as well too. Like,
So
we don't want to, yeah, I could keep going on, but yes.
one thing that I like about Massey is that the bills that he introduces are just legit 1 to 2 pages long. And this is the thing that I have a complaint with how Washington does bills, and he has the same complaint, which
At the state government as well. At the state government as well.
yeah, and it's that the government doesn't pass bills unless it's like a bus bill, as in everything in one. And the whole reasoning why, MG, you can correct me if I'm wrong, we're at additional insight, is that, Mikal, is that it's basically like, well, I want this certain thing, and I'll vote for the thing that you want if you vote for the thing that I want.
Horse trading is what it's called.
Yeah, and that just builds up until we get this giant bill that contains everything that everyone wants and nothing that anybody wants at the same time.
It's gonna
That
be nice.
yeah, a lot of compromise goes into these. So, Massey will introduce 1 to 2 page bills. Like, for example, like, well, if people want to cut the EV credit, let's just introduce a bill to cut the EV credit. Why do we need it in the 400-page
Yeah,
bill?
yeah.
And then the issue is then, well, then if that's gone, the person who won the EV credit gone is likely not going to vote their support for the bill because that's the main thing they wanted. So, like, it brings an issue to this compromise horse trading game that Mikal, I'm sure you know a little bit about that much more than I do, about like the actual inner workings of it. So, like,
Yeah, I mean,
I want to ask a question as an outsider to asking into the political
Mhm.
realm. So, is it really just as blatant as, hey, well, I want support for this issue for my constituents.
Yeah.
I will vote for you if you do vote for me. Is it really just that blatant?
It's that plain and simple. Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna say on specific um subject matters, because that's still confidential from when I was in the PA State House. But yes, that stuff does happen. There is
Yeah.
horse trading. There is meetings on bills, small meetings, no more than 3 or 4 people in a room, discussing, what can be taken out, what can be put in, what can be levied, what can be brought up, what can be put down on really what is going to be in the bill, and what can you do. I mean, we do it a little bit on the advocacy side and lobbying side of things, because we try to pick our battles where we know we can win.
Yeah.
And, those battles that we can't win, we try to find an area to where, our opposition may want to see something pass. But with our help, we can get that thing passed. So that's kind of where we, like, hey, we know you want this passed. We want this passed. Let's see what we can do to help each other's, bill, legislation, policy get to the finish line, and then, move from there. So yeah, it definitely happens. The back rooms are definitely real for people who aren't fully understanding. They don't. That's why I like House of Cards. They don't shy away from it is over the top without a doubt, but it doesn't show that more cynical, dark side of politics and government that's really there, because it is really there.
Yeah.
Only a few people make the deciding rules on budgets. Same thing in New Jersey. Only even individuals that were on the budget committee had no clue about what the budget was really going to look like until the day it came out.
Really?
Yeah, everyone was coming after the Senate budget chair, Senator Sarlo. Yeah, coming over a lot of heat of how this process was. Midnight oil getting the bill. But yeah,
So when you've said midnight oil twice now, what does that mean?
so that's like
Squeaky something.
I was watching Josh Gottheimer doing a video on the Capitol about them doing the big beautiful bill vote, and burning midnight oil is like literally just like the 11th hour, basically, just another way. It's an older generational way of saying burning, yeah, the late hour, basically like the 11th hour. Yeah, that's basically it. But I truly think in these 2026 midterms, we're going to see a lot of demographic changes, not demographic changes, sorry, political changes. Actually, I mean, you could see demographic changes since Trump is now starting to say that he is trying to remove illegals from the upcoming census, which would decimate a lot of Democratic cities and would not expand.
Illegals are included on the census.
Yes.
It makes sense. Why? Because it's just a count of how many people are in the country. It's not like you're counting if you're a citizen or not.
Yeah, illegals are counted in the.
It's interesting they're counted as.
But there's also so it's a two. I've always had the two-pronged approach.
Yeah, I'm not sure how to feel about that.
Did you try to
count as a motor base, but they should count as population.
They count as no. So the census is just so from the census you get your house seats, basically. It's not about voting and the census. It's just population and the census.
Yeah.
Same thing with the house. It's only the population. Doesn't matter how many voters are in the state. Just a matter that population is proportion to how many seats in the house that you get. So I was basically kind of getting to is that on one side you have the Democrats where they have all these illegals within their cities that beef up their census, but then you also have Republicans that have correctional institutions within their districts, and those populations are also counted as well. Yes, you didn't, and you probably did not know that, but yes, that was an issue in PA, that it's the way they gerrymander. It's where they have these correctional facilities in their districts, and they count those inmates as part of their state's population. So that's how they can get more funding. That's how they can get more resources.
So you're saying if Trump takes a bunch of illegals from California, New York, Maryland,
and puts them in Florida,
puts them in Kentucky and Oklahoma, and then they get an additional 500,000 people, and that's like two additional seats, 700,000 more people each state. Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was huge when I was in PA. That's one thing that we were trying to tackle. It's
oh my god.
Yeah, it's correctional gerrymandering. It's how to keep those inmates in that population system, even though they're in jail and technically they're not in the views of law, they are not a citizen, they are now under arrest. They should not technically they're not doing anything outside of those four
Yeah.
walls.
Yeah.
So why are they now being counted as your population? You know what I'm saying. You see the nuances how that really can get a little dicey.
Dirty game.
How it is in that's how it is in those two camps when you're looking at population
Dirty games.
things like that.
I
Definitely.
wonder if California purposely brings in illegals to bolster up its numbers as well.
I mean, those were the claims that Trump ran on originally in
Yeah.
2020 and this past presidential election.
Wouldn't be surprised,
But
honestly.
yeah, like I really and truthfully think that if I always say history repeats itself and history rhymes. So as I started earlier with this podcast by saying with the passage of this bill is very similar to the big beautiful bill. I also think that the potential fallout could be the same too.
Yeah.
I think that Republicans are going to have a lot to chew and a lot to spit out to their constituents about this bill when they have to go to town halls and get ready to go up for election.
I mean, the poorest states
It's going to be
are the red states.
it's going to be a tough pill to swallow for these red states. Kudos to any senator that were able to get carve outs for their districts because you are a winner for your districts, and that's really what governing is all about.
Oh yeah, I saw people on that lab like chewing out Susan Collins for getting Alaska. I was like, she's doing her job. Like she doesn't represent the country; she represents Alaska.
I commend Jeffries on his 8 hour speech, but at the end of the day, it does nothing. The bill still does pass. I'm tired of the theatrical, performances, and like that's what the Democratic Party needs to leave behind because
That's all
I
they are.
think on my recent Instagram I put favorability were like 30 something percent.
33.
There's something that needs to happen, and then also hopefully, as these years go on, I mean, as these next few years roll around, their Project 2029, we can see what that looks like when it's fleshed out. It's basically a countermeasure to the Republicans' Project 2025,
They're so unoriginal.
which is actually in full swing and in full effect. If you've read it, these things in this reconciliation bill and these last few Supreme Court rulings have been all detailed in there. So we've known what he was going to be doing a long time ago. But those who decried that, it wasn't there. It's there, and that's something that can be debated later and further episodes down the line. But definitely just sharing final thoughts. I think 2016 is going to be a miniature blue. Yeah, 2026 is going to be a miniature blue wave. I don't think it's going to be anything crazy because Trump is very favorable right now.
Honestly, it's like the House is 220 to 213, 215, something like that, right? 229,
Yeah, something. Yeah, it's
like
a
four
way
flips
that
would make it
Democrats have
even.
to do. Yeah, basically. So that's going to be 4 flips in the House, and then they really only need 2 in the Senate because Johnson is the tie-breaking vote. It tied at 50-50. So the Senate is even with JD Vance making that vote, not Johnson. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I had but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting midterms. I'm very much looking forward to it. I hope the Democrats can have a message that really resonates with blue collar
Medicare for all, especially after it gets cut.
I think someone actually said like they think that after this Trump bill, this is going to be the biggest argument for why there has to be Medicare for all. And I was like, you know what? That's the way that these Supreme Court rulings are empowering the executive branch. That could be something that the Democrats could do in the first swing when they get into office if they're successful in 2028.
Yeah,
but
definitely.
What?
I feel like Democrats really would never actually put in Medicare for all because once they do, it's a non-issue now. Because then they're like, oh well, what do we rally on now? Similar to the abortion issue. Like it's all a game to these people, really. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, yeah, definitely, it definitely is, and that's why we need to get individuals in office.
We need real people in office.
Real people in office. That's why hopefully I can be one of those
people who aren't bought out by APAC.
We won't tread down those those streams just yet. But
Yeah,
we'll
I'll go on an anti-APAC stream another time.
no, gosh, yes, that's
Yeah.
not fair.
Yeah,
But
to
that
put it,
definitely, so Hamid, let me get your final. Let me get your thoughts on the midterms as we begin to wrap up and close this out.
so I'm excited to see what will happen. For those who don't know, every House seat is up for election, and I think 40-ish Senate seats around there, 30 to 40.
It's almost like the Super Bowl for political people.
Yeah, Super Bowl for political people. Mikal's over there rubbing his hands, foaming at the mouth in excitement.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Damn, but it'll be exciting to see. I do think that if the Democrats can get a good message out, especially with the Medicare, they in the deficit. This is the thing. A lot of people voted
even
Trump
with a
because of the
deficit.
economy. If you tell these people, listen, this guy has just increased the deficit by the largest amount in history with one bill. He is not an economic hawk. He does things for the benefit of the people that he's friends with.
Just want to get you just touched on it. I want to just tell those numbers for our listeners. So CBO forecasts 2.8 to 3.9 trillion added to deficit over 10 years. So let's just keep that in mind. These Republicans are what they call themselves, fiscal hawks, but really they are all rhinos because clearly they would rather deficit. Yeah, they want to.
I've been consistently saying that Massey is the only actual consensus.
This is huge
Huge.
money added.
You can't argue. You can't do. I saw a Ted Cruz tweet from when Biden was president. He's like, "We can't pass the Build Back Better. This will, increase the fiscal revenue. What good do for future generations." Then Trump gets in office and he's like, "The Bible says to follow Israel, so I will pass this massively bad bill." I'm like, what the hell does this have to do with anything?
And I'm just saying, we knew this.
Dude, I've got people who messaging me.
This has been since they first announced their economic plans. They said that these numbers. I remember seeing the 2 to 3, almost to 5 trillion added in deficit from Trump's bill originally.
Yeah.
When it was first talked about as concepts, and Kamala's was like 1.9 something. So I ain't saying one's better than the other, but looking at the numbers, it seems that Kamala's policy. On paper, as one is in paper and one is, getting ready to be in action.
I'll argue, though, that Trump's would definitely stimulate more economic growth, but I will also say that the economic growth primarily comes from the lower base having more money, and these tax cuts are for the rich. They're primarily for the rich. The rich just getting more money hoards all the money into one small group of people. It doesn't keep it flowing. Think about plumbing. If you just have a giant septic tank full of water, that doesn't change how much water can go through the pipes. You got to upgrade the pipes. You got to upgrade the actual system that leads to the tanks. The rich people will be getting far richer if we were all getting richer. That's what bothers me the most. It's so damn simple. And another thing, last thing I'll say about the 2026 midterms, about the Medicaid situation going into this, is, Mikal, I'm sure you're aware of this to an extent, but when companies pay for health insurance, they pay 80% of the cost, and you as an employee pay 20%. So when you see that $50, $100, $150 every paycheck off of your bill for insurance, your employer is covering 5 times that amount. And it's important to say that if Medicare for all were to be a thing, most people, including rich people in this country, would save millions, hundreds of millions. The only people who would lose money are the health insurers. Jeff Bezos would save billions of dollars if Medicare for all were to put in place. Why? Because now he doesn't have to pay his employees health care. That costs him, I can tell you right now, as an employee of a large NASDAQ-listed company, that is a tens of millions a year cost.
Yes.
And Amazon is 100 times our size. It's
You got to make the
ridiculous
message
how
toward the audience.
I want to know who's the rich people they're in contact with. Who's the rich people that they're like, well, yes, I'll put the bills this way to listen to you guys, because it doesn't make sense. It just
BlackRock and Palantir.
yeah, BlackRock and that dude, Larry Fink. Don't say his ethnicity. Don't say his ethnicity. But to the point of what I want to finish off with is that there are these tax cuts can easily be put in a way that would benefit everybody. And they're not. Going into 2026 midterms, the Democrats have an easy platform here to gain support from the rich and from the lower class.
Mm-hmm.
We want Medicare for all because it will save everybody in this country money except health insurers. Rich people, you will not have to pay your employees health care. Poor people, you will not have to pay for health care. Where's the money going to come from? We're going to increase the capital gains tax on the richest 1%. That's where they make their money. They take out loans from the bank,
And I also would even
cash out with capital gains by selling their stock and paying off the loans as collateral.
Yep, I'll even say on incremental tax, a small decimal tax on stock trades too.
I want to go that far, but I'm more conservative than you are.
That's my Bernie Sanders speaking out of me.
That's not a bad idea, but I have to
Bernie Sanders speaking out of me. That was more right when he first said that. That was more for funding free college was, because we bailed them out in 2008. It's only right that, these businesses do the same exact thing to everyone that basically had to use their taxes to basically bail out these individuals after Obama bailed them.
So it would be a small percentage of the actual
like 0.00. I think Bernie had like 0.005% is the smallest thing, but due to the
sheer amount
of the sheer value
billions
of it, trillions of dollars. Like, it's been very small, very.
That doesn't sound like a bad idea. I remember hearing
when I read it, I was like, "This is much." I was like, "This is genius,
dude." There's so much tax, so much. We are the richest country in existence. There's so much opportunity to put a tax on places and repeal it to lead to economic growth. I really do think that we're ruled by a bunch of idiots, and I'm not putting that lightly. Like Thomas, I don't agree with how much of an isolationist and also small government guy Massey is, but I think he's one of the few actual smart people in Congress. One of the very few. Him, Bernie, and a very few others.
Justin Amash, I like too.
Yeah, he's not in Congress anymore though, is he?
I don't think. He might be.
I'm not sure. I think he may have taken a step out. I'm not sure.
He might have.
But yeah.
Yeah. I definitely think this is an
opportunity for the Democrats to take.
Definitely a very good opportunity for both parties to kind of position themselves very strongly for these upcoming midterms. And I hope Democrats can get their act together, because there needs to be candidates, policies that can put them back in the conversations of a regular American discourse and put them in a better light. And
like a laughing joke right now.
As well, because right now we are not the party of the people. We're just a party right now. We have and
it's not
backing of people. We're just we're declining, and we need to be up we need to go up. We need to not decline. So this is going to be the wrap up of episode 2. So everyone, please look out on our social media accounts for Behind the Ballot and the Jenkins Journal. We'll be releasing this episode, the second issue of the Jenkins Journal, which is going to dive deeper on what we've been talking about today on the Behind the Ballot podcast. As well, we will be dropping a new website where you will be able to access the journal and the podcast all in one site. Please provide any feedback, recommendations, or even topics that you would like us to discuss, whether it's in the journal or in the podcast. As well, if you would like to come on to the podcast to talk about certain subject matter, or if you have an interest in certain subject matter you like to come on and talk about, please also reach out to us as well. We would love to possibly have you on and expand our viewership and expand our knowledge on a topic that you are an expert on. So that is going to wrap up episode 2. Thank you guys for listening with us. Please visit the website. Please visit our pages and please provide feedback. Thank you again for listening, and we appreciate you having you here.
And yeah, I just want to sign off on that as well. Thank you all for listening in. I hope you all enjoy, our beautiful voices. I hope you guys tune in next episode as well. For episode 3, we haven't really decided.
Yeah, haven't.
Yeah,
It's
always trending topic of the
yeah, yeah. By Thursday afternoon, I kind of have a good gist or idea what I kind of want to talk about.
Yeah. We gotta talk more about
like
once we start getting guests on and how we want to do guest episodes and weekly trending episodes, things like that. We could talk more about that.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Well, thank you guys all for listening. And Mikal, you got anything else to say?
Just everyone enjoy your 4th. I know after recording this, I am going to be going to a nice pool and having a nice few American Teddy Brustowskis with my girlfriend and her family. So hopefully everyone is enjoying the sun. Go USA. And
A bunch of British man. I'm gonna go.
Yeah, everyone have
punch him in the face.
And yeah, let's have a good day today. Happy July 4th, everyone.
Happy July 4th to all Americans, and avoid England at this time. It's a not safe place. They can't handle the freedom that we have, which is ironic to say, as much as Trump's doing all of his things talking about freedom. But it's a good day in this country at the end of the day. We do have a lifestyle that quite literally most people in the world do not have, so be thankful for that.
Yes, and I think next year he'll have the 250th birthday of America. He's gonna have the a UFC fight on White House lawn.
I saw that. Imagine that.
Yeah, well,
That'd be cool. That'd be cool. This is why he got the male majority vote. Shit like this.
But I'm like, heck yeah, I'm down there for that.
Right? Democrats are like, you should allow men in women's bathrooms, and then Trump's like, I got a fight on the lawn going on. Like, of course the men are gonna vote for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's crazy.
It is. Democrats need to man up.
Yeah, they really do need to pull up their pants and not pull down their pants.
Yeah, right.
But let's we appreciate everyone for listening. Thank you guys again for the support. Also, hopefully there may be some behind the ballot shirts, hats.
Oh, exciting.
Down the pipe. So we'll keep that excited. My amazing girlfriend's going to be helping out with that. So we will keep you guys posted. Thank you again for all the listening. Appreciate you guys. We love to stay engaged, balanced, and informative. So appreciate you guys the most. From behind the podcast, this is Mikal Jenkins. This is
Muhamed Alic. Oh yeah.
And we are signing off. Hopefully see you guys back next week. Thank you guys again.